If you smoked 15 cigarettes a day for the rest of your life, you would probably call that a health crisis. Friends would worry, doctors would intervene, you'd be told over and over that you were shortening your own life. But what if you never touched the cigarette and your risk of dying early was exactly the same? In 2010, a psychologist at Brigham Young University set out to answer a question nobody had seriously measured before. Not does loneliness feel bad? Everybody already knew that. The question was narrower and much colder. Does loneliness actually kill you? And if so, how much? Her name was Julianne Holt-Lunstad, and instead of running one small study, she pulled together the data from 148 separate studies, tracking more than 300,000 people over years of their lives. She wasn't looking at people's feelings, she was looking at death certificates. Her team took every study and lined it up against the biggest, most well-documented killer in public health history: smoking. Because if you want to know how dangerous something really is, you compare it to the thing everyone already agrees is dangerous. What she found didn't just surprise her, it surprised almost everyone who read it. People who were socially isolated or who reported chronic loneliness had a risk of early death comparable to smoking around 15 cigarettes a day. Not one cigarette, not an occasional one at a party, 15 every single day. That number spread everywhere. It ended up in TED Talks, government health campaigns, even a Netflix documentary. Loneliness, the world decided, was a hidden epidemic, as dangerous as a pack of cigarettes a day. But here's the part almost nobody mentions. The story doesn't end with that number. It gets more complicated and more interesting from there. Because social relationships in that first 2010 study wasn't just measuring loneliness, it was a much wider net. It included how many people you talked to, whether you lived alone, whether you felt cared for. Loneliness was in there, but so was almost everything else about how connected a life actually was. So, 5 years later, in 2015, Holt-Lunstad went back and did something most researchers never bothered to do. She tried to break her own famous finding apart. She ran a second meta-analysis, more than 3.4 million people this time, across North America, Europe, Asia, and Australia. And she separated the tangle into 3 distinct threads: loneliness, the subjective feeling of being alone, even in a crowded room; isolation, the objective fact of having almost no contact with other people at all;